Hopwood Hall dates back to the 1400s and is undergoing a major renovation. And this requires us to learn heritage skills so that we can recreate damaged or missing items within the hall so that we can keep up with the renovation, but also that we can restore the hall to its former glory. One of the highlights of the hall is the morning room, which was a lavishly decorated place where my ancestors would have gathered every morning. Its ornately carved wood ceiling was one of a kind. Unfortunately, after the hall became abandoned, it fell into major disrepair, and the ceiling and its carvings began to crumble and disappear. With Historic England, we are going to learn how to recreate this, a centuries-old original wood carving that came from the ceiling in the morning room. 38 of these similar carvings originally adorned the ceiling, but due to leaks, vandalism, and theft, only 7 remain. We now have our work cut out for our team of students and volunteers as we learn how to carve these ourselves so that we can recreate and reinstate the ceiling to its original grandeur. Our instructor, Saina, is a wood carving expert. She has her work displayed across the UK in historical buildings, and she is coming here to Hopwood Hall to teach us to wood carve, but also to take a look at all the wood carvings within the hall.
Wow, this looks amazing. Actually, this is a very good example because one of the projects that we are going to do has very similar pattern.
Oh, really?
To those fluting. You can see this kind of pattern quite a lot on
yes.
the chair legs and moldings
really?
around those.
One of the big issues we have is we've lost a lot of these ceiling decorations. For instance, here's one of the originals that is in, I'm not sure, looks like it's carved.
Yes, it's hand carved. And as you can see, if you look at the petals on this flower, that's very similar kind of cuts as we have seen in the fluting that I mentioned.
Right.
So it is kind of similar technique that we'll do. So
do you think you could teach us how to make this?
Yes,
really?
Definitely, yes.
Wow.
I would say this is kind of very good example for beginners.
So the first thing that we have to do in learning how to carve is practice. So Saina is showing us how to experiment on the wood, to pick up these tools, to try to get the feel of them, make them comfortable in our hands.
Chisel, half on the metal, half on the wooden part, thumb up.
As you start to chip into the wood with the mallet and start to feel the softness and the grain of the wood and the way it sort of starts to scoop out the wood, and in some places it feels almost like butter.
Going down and sliding it out. In, slide, and in, slide.
And in other places it just feels quite a bit harder where you feel like you need to have a mallet to gently tap it. But as you start to chip away these layers, you really start to see the beauty of what can be there underneath the surface of the wood and how this is starting to come out and really shine and show that you too can leave your artistic mark on this piece of wood. There's a number of tools, and the ones we're using today range from a number 1 up to number 11, meaning different shapes, different sizes, different cuts, different gouges that they do. I'm growing more and more confident with these tools and really start to get the hang of it a little bit, more than I thought I would. So here is some of the wood carving that I have actually been doing, believe it or not. I've actually impressed myself. So I've done these using this tool. See, it kind of goes under there and carves out. And then now I've moved on to the more complex fishtail carving with, I'm using this tool. And it's going to look something like that, or at least we hope. And that's what I did. It's supposed to look like that. So here you can see on the door where our instructor Saina was describing, that we were going to learn to do something similar. Look, this is what I did, this pattern here. And yes, it's not quite as big or as deep, but it's just fascinating. It's so exciting to think that I did this, and this is what they did hundreds of years ago. And to think I could improve and get better and potentially be able to replace areas where the paneling, the carvings are missing. So exciting. Now it's time to move on to carve the flower. I'm just looking at this thinking there is no way I'm going to be able to do this. The complexity of it, the depth within the petals, the middle of the flower, the whole thing being a circle that I'm going to be carving out of a piece of square wood. So the first step is I'm going to take this design and transfer it onto the wood. I'm going to use some special paper, copy paper, I think they call it. And I'm going to trace right onto the wood. So once we have the design transferred onto the wood, I really start to see how difficult this is going to be. The next step is setting in and cutting along the outline, really refining that outline and getting it very tight and very smooth, just how you want it. I've just cut this into a circle. Somewhat amazed I was able to do that. It's quite tedious. Not the easiest thing to do, but it's very satisfying. I'm about to start on the actual intricate design within the circle. So this is the big leap of faith, and I do that without screwing it up. Now I have started to scoop out the inside. See, I've made all these cuts around this flower, and now using this little spoon type thing, I am slowly but surely scooping out around the flower.
Can you see, if you look at that edge, which drops gradually. From this point, lowering gradually. So in a way, you are expanding this cut wider.
All right, now we've got this all cleared out, but it is quite rough, as you can see. But now I'm going to move on to the center of the flower and then onto the petals. And I'm going to be using this large one to do this circle.
Perfect. Very good. That's it.
It's really intriguing to have Saina come into the hall and to look at these carvings that I've seen for years, but to explain them in detail and to talk about the techniques that would have been used.
You can see there's a decorated surroundings, so frames, that can be copied exactly, but the center panel probably we need to do a little bit more research.
And to understand not only the stories that the carvings tell, but also how they were made and the passion and time that the individual craftspeople poured into them. It really gives me a whole new look at the hall. It feels like another level of knowledge that I really needed to have as we move forward in this restoration, and the appreciation for these heritage skills and the craftspeople from the past, but also the current craftspeople, is so exhilarating to see all of that coming together. And hopefully when we're finished, it will all be a seamless hall that you can look at and see hundreds of years spanning many generations of all these stories and all these hearts and souls that went into Hopwood Hall. So this room dates back to the original hall, which is thought to be in the 1400s, around 1420. Do you think that when they carved this originally way back then, this was just a freehand sort of...
Well, not freehand, but they must have some image reference, but not drawn on detailed, not like technical drawing, of course. So yes, so you can. That's why some of the images are, even though they are exactly the same image, they are very different, not as exact as the later period.
This panel here is missing, as you can see. We're not sure what exactly happened to it, if it was stolen by thieves or vandals, or maybe just dry rot, but obviously this is going to need to be replaced at some point.
Yes, so this case is, we're quite lucky because there's exact opposite side, there's an example which is quite intact, and there are much images that's lost. So we could use that as a reference and replace this part.
Okay, now I have moved on. I have gotten the circle cut out. You can see I had a bit of an accident here. But then I lowered this area around the center of the flower. And then next I'm going to be taking out these areas of the petals. This isn't just about Hopwood Hall, but it's really about securing the future of all these heritage buildings across the country. It's really exciting to see the students inspired by these heritage skills, and it's multi-generational. It's people of all ages, very diverse, coming in to learn something new that they didn't know before, and you can see, myself included, how excited everyone's getting. You see a light go on in people's eyes when they learn something new like this, and to be empowered by doing something like wood carving is so exciting. It's never something I thought that I would be able to do. I didn't believe it would be possible. But to now think that it is something I can do, I can build upon this, improve upon it, and that maybe one day the carving that I do can go into a place like Hopwood Hall. Now I'm taking the center out. It's getting a little bit better. It's getting a little bit closer to what it needs to be in the end. But still sort of a mangled wreck. I just traced these lines on the inner part of the flower. You can see that's an example that was done by the instructor, which is beautiful. And you can see from the plaster cast, it drops down, so I've got to leave a ridge there. I'm going to use this tool here, that looks about right to me, to dig in and scoop. It's a true blessing to be working with organizations like Historic England, who are so passionate about passing on heritage skills to future generations. So to have them here at Hopwood Hall focused on it is such an honor. And it's really encouraging how they're trying to reach out and change the future of the country in terms of saving these buildings with these heritage skills, but also to change the future of people who live here who want to learn how to do this.
It is very important to actually educating young people that this skill exists, and it is very important skill for the future, and also the important thing, they can make a living out of this and they can have a great life. And because I work in heritage sector, so I work in areas where it's quite well known, so Tower of London, I worked in a few colleges in Oxford, New College, Oriel College. So great thing is I can take my friends and family and tell them, by the way, there's my work, and I did that. So you can see some of my work on display, so that's great feeling that my work will be part of the history and hopefully it will last a long time.
I'm not really sure if I'm making it better here. I think it's looking a little more rough, even though I'm trying to smooth it out and refine the rough edges, and not sure I'm being successful. This feeling of concentrating on carving the wood is really making me feel good and confident and like I'm accomplishing something that's going to be around for many years to come. And it just felt like back to the basics. Here this is a piece of wood and my hands and these tools, and I'm creating something in the same way that my ancestors would have done all these hundreds of years ago. It really fills me with joy and makes me feel like I can do this. And I guess it's sort of a metaphor for a much bigger thing, which is the overall renovation and restoration of the hall. It is so great to be focusing on this. And I can only explain it in the same way that some people like to do cooking or gardening or focusing on a puzzle. Here I am with this carving and can just work on it. And it's slow work, but I have now put down my phone. I'm not thinking about an internet connection or about my next conference call online. It's just me and the wood, along with the community members and the students here doing the same thing. And it just really feels grounded. And we're all in there working together like a hive of bees, doing something for the future of Hopwood Hall, but also for our own futures. Look what Amanda has done. Can we show yours?
Yes.
Look at this, Amanda. How do you know how to do such a thing? Wow, that is so much more intricate and better. Obviously, that one looks like they already knew you were an artist and they put you on the advanced class.
Over.
Even though we started at the same time.
I've got a long way to go.
So
That's
that's
what the teacher
the
made.
instructor made
Yeah,
that. This is
so-
a cast of the
yeah.
original. But then this is yours, which is amazing. Look at this next to the...
And then,
That's
just trying to
really good.
find
I'm
it.
super impressed. I mean, I really can't believe that I did this. I really can't. I mean, we're not going to probably be able to use it here, but I don't know. It's a start. Still just buzzing with excitement that I was able to come somewhat even close to what was here. I have a lot of learning to do, but we'll get there. I'm feeling pretty confident about the possibility. It might be 10 more down the road to get there, but I feel like I would be able to eventually be able to carve something a little bit close to that could actually be used as a replacement. This one, not so much. This one's probably going to be a coaster. But it's still my first one. We need lots of pieces like this in the hall. So the fact that we are learning how to do this, we will improve upon what we're doing, and eventually some of these will go into the hall to help fill all the missing areas where these types of carvings need to go back into. So what we're doing here, learning, is really going to change the face of Hopwood Hall because it will help in the restoration, but then also all of these students who are learning can then go on to work elsewhere and have jobs and have a full career in the country, throughout the world really, practicing these heritage skills and sharing them with other heritage buildings in need. And who knows, maybe you can come to visit us here at Hopwood Hall and take one of our heritage training workshops in the future. Maybe your work will even appear in Hopwood Hall. We have a huge thanks to Historic England and of course to our wonderful instructor, Saina. If you like these videos, please like, share, subscribe, and click the bell to be alerted about our latest content. This has been a collaboration with Historic England, so be sure to head over to their YouTube channel as well to see more of our videos there. And we hope you'll like their channel and follow it because they have a lot of great content on there too. Thank you so much for all your support. Hey favorites, thank you for hanging until the very end. If you'd like to read my book called Downton, Shabby from HarperCollins, it is a story about Hopwood Hall. It's available for purchase online. Thank you so much.